Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. I'm just gonna log in here so that I can see your comments. How's everybody doing today? Make sure you say hi when you pop in so that I can welcome you and so I know who's watching. All right, good morning, Mary Liz. When do you do your head shave, Mary Liz? Okay, let's see here. We are gonna go ahead and start with what we do every week. We are going to draw for last week's winners. Good morning, Barb. So last week we created this card on Facebook Live, and in order to get entered to win, if you comment, good morning, Shara, if you comment on this post or on this video, and oh, tonight, I can't wait to see pictures, Mary Liz. Comment on this post and you'll get your name entered. Share this video and you'll get 5 entries, and that's how I start the week, is drawing a winner, and I pop it in the mail and anybody can win. And if you're watching the replay, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube, you can still get entered as well. I check YouTube comments as well. And Dawn is the lucky winner, so I will pop this in the mail for you, Dawn. Okay, let's set that aside. All right, I've got a crazy busy day, so we are gonna jump right into things. I'm gonna switch the camera around and we're gonna go ahead and start crafting. Okay. See how that looks. All right. Okay, so today we are going to, sorry, just making a few adjustments here. Okay, today we are going to use the Tea Together stamp set, which is in the Occasions catalog, and the coordinating tea time framelit dies, which you can earn for free during celebration. Mary Liz says, found pink bunny hair paper for my journal. Oh, that's awesome. That's gonna be great. Mary Liz is shaving her head to raise money for cancer today, so I'm excited to see photos. All right, so yes, these framelits you can earn for free during celebration, and they coordinate with the Tea Together stamp set. So we are gonna use that today. We're gonna do some watercoloring, and we're gonna create a fancy fold card. So we're doing lots. And I've gotta cram this all in because I still have a few more things to do before I pick Ethan up early from school and we head to Calgary for a robotics competition tomorrow. All right, so you ready to see what we're making? Now, I want to give credit to Brett, who I believe is watching. I got this idea from her. She's a demonstrator as well. And she created a fancy fold card that I hadn't seen before, and I loved it. So I wanted to do my own version of it. So this is it here. And it opens up like this. And she made hers into a gift card holder, and I'll show you what I did with a gift card holder in a little bit towards the end of the video. Is your screen blurry? Because it's blurry for me. It doesn't look very crisp. So basically, this is what it looks like when it's standing up. Okay, and it's really simple to watch, or to create. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start with a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock, and this is just an 8.5 by 11 cardstock. Okay, it's not blurry for you. Okay, good. Thanks, Barb. We are going to cut it to 4 1/4 inches by 11 inches. So just in half. Then we're gonna rotate it and we're gonna score it twice. We're gonna score it at 2 3/4. Thanks, Brett. And 5 1/2 inches. Thank you for the idea. I haven't seen this fold before, so I was really excited when I saw it. Okay, and then this other strip, we just set that one aside. This other strip we are going to cut down to 9 inches. So let's just open this up. We're gonna cut it to 9 inches. So we're gonna trim off that little bit. And we are going to trim it down to 3.5 inches and score at 4.5. Okay. So we've made it a little bit narrower, and then we're just scoring it in half and a little bit shorter. Yeah, I don't need this for anything else. Okay, so now I'm going to fold along my score lines. So this piece is gonna go, you're gonna fold it up. So normally your card would go like this if you cut it this way, but we are gonna fold it up. And you wanna make sure that your score lines are really nice and crisp for this. And then we're gonna fold this bit back, and this is actually going to be our card base. And then this piece we're just gonna fold in half. And this is going to get stuck in here like this, so that it opens like that and then like that. Okay, does that make sense? So let's go ahead and stick this down. And you want it centered side to side, but a little bit closer to the top. So you'll end up with a little bit more of a gap here, but that's fine. Okay, so that's our card base. Let's see, what else can we do here before? Let's add the DSP, okay, because you all know that I am loving this Painted Seasons DSP. I had to use it. So that's where my colors came from, was this DSP. So I'm using Grapefruit Grove, Poppy Parade. Actually, I don't know if Grapefruit Grove, yeah, Grapefruit Grove is in that paper. And then I threw in a different green. So I'm using Pear Pizzazz for my green. Okay, so I am going to use this Poppy Parade patterned side. This piece of DSP measures 2.5 inches by 4 inches. And this is just gonna go along the bottom here. Just like that, just centering it so you get a nice even border, 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. And then, okay, let's go ahead and start with the accents, the fun stuff, before we go any further. Okay, so I am going to use a piece of our watercolor paper. I love our watercolor paper. You know what, to be honest, for the longest time, I would just go and buy watercolor paper from the local craft store. But watercolor paper is not all created equal. I love ours because, first of all, you can stamp on both sides. Second of all, even though it is really grainy, it still stamps so much better than the watercolor paper that you buy at your local craft store. Let's move this away. So any of these, like if I wasn't using our Stampin' Up watercolor paper, I would use my Stamparatus and I would line it up, and I'm going to use StazOn ink, and I would likely have to stamp it multiple times in order to get the entire design. This design isn't so bad because it is just an outside line art image, but if it was something detailed, you would definitely want to do that so that you get that, that gorgeous detail in there. So I'm going to ink with StazOn. Because we're watercoloring, you want to use StazOn ink, or you could stamp with Versamark and emboss with black as well. Actually, I don't even know if we carry black embossing powder anymore. I don't think we do. Okay, so I'm making sure that this is really, really well inked. I love the smell of StazOn. It smells like almonds. It smells so good. Okay, so I'm just gonna stamp this down and then just make sure that I'm applying pressure all over so I get a nice, good impression. Perfect. And then while we've got the ink out, I am also going to stamp this beautiful flower image. And I'm going to use a scrap piece of watercolor paper for that. Okay, so normally I don't clean my stamps until after the video is all over, but because this is StazOn ink, you want to clean them relatively quickly. You don't want to leave that StazOn ink sitting on the stamps any more than necessary. So I use my old scrub. This is really the only thing. I use this for Versamark and StazOn ink. Otherwise, it's my chamois for everything. I love my chamois. But I find that the chamois does not clean StazOn ink. Just water will not clean StazOn ink. And you can see that that did a pretty good job. So this is just our Stampin' Mist with our old Stampin' Scrub. Okay, so now we'll move that out of the way. We're gonna do some watercoloring now. So let's start with Grapefruit Grove. Brett says she hasn't played with this. Now she wants to. Yeah, this was actually, I did this last night, and this was the first time it's seen ink, and I actually love it. Love it a lot more than I thought I would. Okay, so the first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to use my aqua painter, and I'm just going to go on some watercolor paper or scrap paper, whatever. Just make sure that it's clean before I add any ink to it. Because I'm coloring a relatively large image, I've added a drop of ink refill in there. If you don't have the ink refills, you can just squeeze your ink pads and it will transfer ink to the surface as well. Okay, so it'll transfer a little bit of ink in there. But because this is a larger surface, it's just easier to pull that color from a drop of ink refill. And I always just pull just a little bit, and I start light. And I kind of go where the spots would be a little bit darker first. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is meant to be like a watercolored look. So it can be a little bit messy. Okay, so you can see I'm not even being super careful about staying in the lines. Hey Kristen, you're watching live. Welcome. Are kids napping? Okay, so we're using the Tea Time stamp set with the coordinating framelits. Did I get that right? Is the stamp set called Tea Time? The one from the Occasions catalog that has the matching framelits. And we're doing a little bit of watercoloring, and then we're gonna we created a fancy fold card base. Okay. So this is just a quick job, but I'm going to go back in and add a little bit of a darker color in where these lines are, which I think are meant to be where the shadows are. And it will likely be a little bit darker here and then around here. So wherever I think that there might be a few shadows, maybe just under here. And here. My daughter did a paint night with her nursing friends the other day, and she came home with this painting that one of her friends had colored, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. And Jordan said that she goes, how do you know where to add the highlights and, you know, the shading and all that? She goes, well, you think about where the light hits, and I can't picture that. I don't know, my mind just doesn't think that way, and I guess obviously Jordan's doesn't either, but this painting that her friend did was amazing. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more color on here. Let's do a little bit here. Okay, so see, by starting light, you can add more color But if you start darker, I guess you could add more moisture and it would soften it a little bit. But I find it easier to start light and then add some shadows. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now we are going to color our rose. So we're just gonna do it all so that when we pull in the big shot, we can just do all our cutting at the same time. So you wanna make sure that actually it doesn't matter so much because we're going to a different color, or a darker color, but make sure that your brush is clean. And then I'm just going to color the whole flower. And sometimes I find a little bit more moisture works, so you can squeeze it a little bit to get some more moisture coming out. But sometimes when you do that, then it's a little bit harder to control because it just keeps coming out. So you want to be careful with that. I always make sure that I have a paper towel handy to dab off any excess water. Okay, so let's add a few highlights here. Probably be darker in the middle. Maybe here. That's quite dark. Let's get some of that color off. And then we'll do some blending. Okay, so you can see that I'm not being super careful. And I love the look of it. Like it's just, it looks like it's meant to look. It looks like watercolor. It's not meant to look perfect. Okay, and then I'm gonna pull in some Pear Pizzazz. Does anybody else like to watercolor? The blends are still my favorite, but it is kind of fun to go back and do this as well. Gives it a completely different look. It's just so soft. And it seems a lot more artistic. Definitely need more color on that. You can hardly see. Okay. Just quickly color the rest of these leaves. Then we'll pull in the big shot. It does help. I mean, I'm doing everything pretty quickly here, but it helps with the shadowing if you let it dry in between adding your layers of color. Okay, so we are done with the aqua painter. Now I'm gonna pull in my big shot because we are going to use the framelits. Where did I put these? So the framelits, there's one for the rose, and there's one for the teapot, there's one for the teacup, there's one for the smaller flower, there's a couple, actually 3 for the leaves, and then there's a couple for the single rose stem. Mary Liz says, love it. Anything we have to do differently when die cutting watercolor paper? No, you don't need to do anything different. It is a little bit thicker, but it's fine. I still pass it through once and it cuts just fine. What you do want to make sure is you want to make sure that your images are dry before you cut them. So really, apart from that, that's really the only thing that you need to be careful of. Okay, my big shot. All right, so let's do the teapot first. And look how perfectly that fits. Hello, PJ. Welcome. All the way from Florida. I don't know if I've had anybody watching live from Florida before. Welcome. What's the weather like in Florida today? Okay, so see, we've got that beautiful teapot. It cuts out the little center bit, so that's good. And now we're gonna do the rose. So we are using the Tea Time stamp set and coordinating framelits. Okay. All right, well, enjoy your massage, Brett. Have a great weekend. Thanks again for the idea. All right, so we got that rose in there, 85 degrees. Oh, that's much nicer than here. I think we're, well, today is supposed to be a little bit nicer. I think we're at, although this is Celsius, I think we are supposed to go up to -5 Celsius, which is like, it feels like shorts and flip-flop weather for us after the -30 stretch that we've had. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull in my other platform because we are gonna do a little bit of embossing. Hello, Shirley, popping in and out. Okay, so I am going to use this new embossing folder. It's called the Lace Dynamic Textured Impression Embossing Folder, and it's got this gorgeous lacy background. Oh, you found me on YouTube. Okay, all right, that's good to know. Okay, so we are going to use this lacy background, and we are going to emboss a piece of Whisper White cardstock that measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And you'll need 2 of these pieces. I'll show you what the other piece will be for in a minute. So we are going to stick this in here, and actually I think I want to do it so that one of these lace things is kind of in the center. Okay, that looks about right. So we're going to stick that on there at our top. So this is a dynamic impressions folder. So when you do this, you only need 1 of these mats on top because it's a little thicker and gives a little bit of a deeper, more detailed pattern. And look how pretty this is. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, while we have it out, we are gonna actually emboss our envelope flap as well. So, you guys know that I often like to decorate my envelopes to match. So I'll stamp on them or I'll cover them with patterned paper. So this one I thought we would emboss the flap. So I'm just sliding just the flap in there, just to the end of the embossing folder. And then I'm gonna line it up and feed it through. And then look how pretty that is. Can you imagine getting this envelope in the mail? I mean, you wouldn't want to rip it open. It's just so pretty. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. We're done with the big shot. Okay, so back to our card base. So for those of you who joined us a little bit late, our card base is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. And then you're gonna fold it like this. So it's like almost part of a W. And then this piece measures 3 1/4 by 9. Was it 3? No, 3 1/2. 3 1/2 by 9. It's scored at 4 1/2. And then you just attach that piece onto there, okay? So this white piece that we embossed, we're gonna stick that right on there. And I'm using Fast Fuse, which is retired, but I still have quite the stash. I stocked up when it was on the clearance rack because it is my all-time favorite adhesive. Okay, so we're gonna stick that on there. And then we've got another piece of white that measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. This piece is gonna go on the inside, like this. And pop that on here, just in the center. Okay, and now we can go ahead and finish decorating. So we are going to use some dimensionals on the back of our teapot. Let's cut some pieces here. So does anybody have any fun plans for the weekend? I'm just really hoping that the weather stays pretty clear for our drive down to Calgary. There's a stretch in between the two cities that is always not so nice. The roads can be really bad, but I mean, with the weather warming up a little bit, it should be fine. Okay, so we've got our teapot. I'm gonna stick it in the center of my embossed panel here. And then my rose is gonna go on here as well. So I'm gonna use a little bit, I'm gonna use a dimensional and then just a little bit of fast fuse because part of it will overlap what's already popped up. So we've got that. Oh, Andrew built your table, Mary Liz, so you're gonna use it this weekend. Will this be the first time that you craft on it, or have you had the opportunity to craft on it since it's been set up? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take one of the stitched rectangles, and I used, so this is what the framelits look like when they come on the sheet. I used this one here. So it's the second smallest in this little stack of them here. And I pre-cut that just from Whisper White cardstock. And I am going to stamp a greeting from the, what is it? Incredible Like You stamp set. It says, hope your day is as amazing as you are. I could have done, like the greetings that are in this stamp set, let me pull it back in here. There are some great greetings. They're more geared towards Mother's Day. And I likely will make a Mother's Day card with this for my mom. But I really only need a couple Mother's Day cards. I don't need a whole lot of other ones. So I decided to make it a birthday card because there's lots of people that I know that would appreciate this card as a birthday card. So I'm going to bring in my Pear Pizzazz ink and the stamp, ink up my greeting. Oh, first time, take pictures, yes. Okay, and then I've just got to stand up for this. I hope you don't see the top of my head and all the gray. I desperately need another color. Okay. All right, so we've got our greeting. Now, the key to this card standing up is how you attach the greeting. So right now, if we left it like this, it doesn't want to stay up. And even that doesn't look the best because it looks like it's leaning forward. So the key to getting it to stay up is to put a couple dimensionals, and I just use the ones around the edges so that they're like a half dimensional. And you want to put it along the bottom of your greeting. So I'm going to put one there. And I just ripped this one right off. And then one here, peel off the backing. And it's going to go in the center here. And it's going to create almost like a little, I don't know, like a flap that you can tuck it in so that it stands. It should stand. There we go. So then when you close the card, it just goes like that and it holds it closed. Okay, so that's the key to that. And then when we open it, I wanted to add something on the inside. So I had stamped and colored in a couple of these, the smaller flowers. Lorraine said she ordered the Tea Time Together, or the Tea Together stamp set. Oh, you're welcome. Happy to inspire you. So I colored a couple of these flowers, and I'm just gonna add them kind of in the top and bottom corners. Just to decorate the inside just a little bit. And there we go. So there's our card. Isn't that pretty? And then we've got the embossed flap on the envelope. So there we go. So I wanted to show you an alternate version that I created using the Hello Cupcake and the coordinating framelits. I love that the framelits come with extra little bits and pieces. So not only do they cut out the images that are in here, but they also add to the versatility of the stamp set because look what I was able to create. I did a little cupcake stand. So it comes with the little pedestal base, and then I cut, using a window sheet, I cut out the little topper thing. Oh, I don't know what it's called. The little topper thing for the stand out of a window sheet. And then my cupcakes underneath. These little stars are from, there are these little pick things in here. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. And the little stars in the center. So I cut out 3 of those and just added the stars on there. And then when you open it up, we've got a gift card holder. So I used this top flap, added a piece of DSP that I notched with a circle punch, and then tucked a gift card in there. So that's just kind of an alternate version of that. And I just love this cake, this pedestal, and the topper there. So cute, so much fun. All right. So thanks so much for watching. If you guys want to order any of these products, feel free to visit my Canadian online store and use this host code until the end of February. And remember that if you comment on this post, ask questions, comment in any way whatsoever, share the video, then you'll get entered to win the card that we made today, and I will draw next Friday. All right. So thanks so much for watching. Have a fabulous weekend. I hope you have time to get crafty, and take care.